It all comes down to this, Melissa. 271 episodes has led to this. Episode 272, the Spit episode.
Wetter than ever.
Right, yeah. No. Also, happy Mother's Day to everyone. We're recording this on Mother's Day, so we hope you all wished your moms a happy Mother's Day. I promise you.
With all the spit you can muster.
Right, yeah. I was about to say the spit episode has nothing to do with moms, but yeah, you know, it is what it is.
Moms can spit too.
They sure can. It's not illegal. So yeah, last time on the podcast, I had something that I wanted to talk about that we never got around to. So I wanted to bring it up this week on the show. This is the spit ratio in podcast. Not in podcast, in Hollywood.
Right.
The spittle ratio. Now, Melissa, when you saw this on our document, what did you think this was?
I thought you had maybe been listening back through some old episodes or editing video or something, and I thought you were talking about us, that we are spitting more than we ever have before. But no, you intend this to be a discussion of Hollywood performances.
Yes,
actually,
absolutely.
Do you mean Hollywood specifically, or have you also witnessed this in international entertainment? Is there a higher level of spittle in like K-dramas as well?
I don't know if I distinguished international versus Hollywood, but just like in movies and TV in general, I'm guess using Hollywood as a catch-all for just the entertainment industry. Yeah, something just a random thought that happened as I was watching a show on Netflix, The Naked Director, which I think I've mentioned to you once before, or pitched it on the review show at one point. Something.
Kyle, this is also a show I wrote down in our list of review show ideas. It's right there. you can't.
Well,
second time in recent weeks you've done this.
I think I put that one on there because I know I've pitched it before.
No, I put that one down there. I wrote that.
Okay. Well, I have now seen The Naked Director because it's been on my list of stuff to watch for a long, long time. Long story short, it's about a guy in Japan who kind of revolutionized their pornography in industry. So based on real events and stuff like that, but of course they dramatize stuff. It is not a docuseries, right? It is actors playing these characters and stuff like that. But there is a scene where a guy gets very emotional and just starts spitting and drooling as he's talking and begging and pleading. And I get it. I've been very emotional where like I'm crying, my nose is running. It's harder to control my face. Right? You're so overwhelmed with emotion that it just becomes difficult. But to the level that he was drooling was just kind of ridiculous.
Uh-huh.
And I looked to my partner and I was like, is this a little much? And she was like, yeah, I had the same thought. And like he had an appropriate response. Like he is supposed to be emotional in the scene he's in. It's not like it was an inappropriate response. But then I just started thinking, like, I feel like over the past decade or two, the amount of times where I've seen a performer like so emotional or in tears to the point where snot is running down their nose onto their lips and all that stuff, or who knows what. Just the amount of times I've seen that, I think, has increased. Would you agree?
I know the focus more recently has been on mumbling. the Tom Hardy effect we're living through.
The
Where
like
it's not
audio mixing.
Which is, I watched a video about it once, and it's partially a turn to raw or more raw, more natural performances that maybe don't have as clear of enunciation, and also movies mixed for theaters that don't then receive a
Right.
custom audio mix when you're watching them at home. So the levels are a little off. It's like it's like more technical reasons than you'd think, besides just that Tom Hardy can't speak up. I've been thinking about that. I've not been thinking about how wet everyone's mouths are and how much spittle is going into the air.
Yeah.
maybe post COVID, we're going to see a turn away from that. Maybe now performers are more aware of the dangers of spittle.
Right.
And they'll turn back from that.
We're on the tail end of the spittle revolution.
Yeah.
And it's now turned a corner. As we've learned more about viruses and diseases, we're just like, let's tone that spit down. But yeah, it was it was a fascinating thing to like come to the realization of just like I think I've seen more actors just spitting and snotting it up. I don't know, it just seems true.
Snot I don't know about, and snot's hard to predict. I don't know how that lady from the Blair Witch Project did it, probably because she was really like lost in the woods. There's certain realism elements to that. Snot, difficult to control, but I feel like that poses less of a germ risk to your cast members than spittle.
Sure.
I'd love to meet the actor who can snot on command.
Right? Or
where do they teach that?
Digitally added in? Do they have like the like Visine drops that like make you cry but for your nose? Do they have something that just you smell the chili pepper beforehand and you're right like just I can't do it. I don't know, because there was a trailer for there's a recent horror movie. I don't know if it's out or about to be out. The like tarot, where like the cards are coming to life, and there's the one girl who's like in the closet trying to hide, and you can see her like through. I don't know if it's the keyhole or like a slot in the door, but she's standing there scared, crying, just snot running down her nose. And I was just like, man, like kudos to all these people just out here snotting it up. Good for them. True performance.
Good for you.
Yeah. Indeed. Welcome back to the Whatnauts Captain's Log number 272. My name is Kyle Springer. I am joined by Melissa Wilkinson. Melissa, how have you been?
I've been good. The dumb thing I've been thinking about for the past week is a reverse Godfather, where the mafia puts a bed inside your horse.
Is this inspired by Luke Skywalker surviving in the Tauntaun?
He went in there, but they didn't. A bed didn't.
Well, loosely inspired by, based on true events that happened a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, right?
I was just listening to a podcast talk about The Godfather and that famous scene where the guy finds a horse head in his bed. And they're like, how did these mafia goons pull that off? How'd they like cut the head off, sneak it into that guy's bed while he was just dead asleep? And I'm like, forget that. The more difficult challenge is, what if you found a bed inside your horse? Somebody just force-fed your horse a full duvet. And that's your punishment for not putting that singer in the movie you're producing. Whatever the actual cause of the horse head incident was. Right. And then I thought, in Reverse Godfather, when you see death, that means you get to have an orange later.
Okay, yeah.
You know the thing where, like, as soon as you see an orange, that means a character's going to die later on in that scene in The Godfather?
Is that really what
yes
happens in that? Because I know there's at least a scene or two where, they, like, accidentally spill some oranges from, like, a store. Let's say, like, I don't think I've ever heard that every time oranges show up, a character's about to die or anything
I
like that.
mean, I don't know if that's a deliberate plan of old FFC or if it's just
It
a
just
very
happens.
popular reading.
Yeah.
But what if you saw the
Interesting.
Grim Reaper walking down the street, but you knew that meant somebody was going to hand you an orange? You get to have a treat later. You don't die. You just get the hydration and vitamin C of an orange slice.
Right? Because you never see death coming. So if you can see him, you know it's not for you. That's interesting.
True. In Reverse Godfather, Al Pacino comes home from war and forces his father to start doing crimes.
Yeah. Indeed. Interesting. Reverse Godfather. When I saw that on our list, I was trying to think of some, like, what that meant. I definitely would not have gone to horses, beds inside horses. I was like, is there something where, like, I don't know, like, the guy can get out of the mafia? Like, he was the main guy and is slowly, like, setting things up to, like, get himself out of, like, an escape from the mafia, and he just wants to go off and be an artist and join the army and something like that. But I guess not. Maybe you didn't know it was Fredo all along, right?
Do you remember that Twitter meme from like 15 years ago that was, if you watch Jaws backwards, it's about a shark that spits up so many people that they have to open a beach? And a lot of people were doing that.
Interesting.
I didn't see this specific version where it's like you just take one trope and you flip it on its head.
That's fun.
It is fun. It's a great way to entertain myself.
What is there another movie that would be good backwards? Besides Tenet?
Right. Tenet, Primer, Memento, all of those.
Primer would be interesting too, because of how complicated the ending is, and to see that all kind of like untangle itself and lead back to like a single point. That'd be fun.
You watch The Shining backwards, it's about an elevator that sucks up all your blood.
A hotel that is alive and has a blood stream. Interesting. Haven't ever thought of something like that. There has to be some other ones out there that would be really, really good if you watched it backwards.
Uh-huh.
I wonder if anyone has actually made a legitimate movie based off of that premise. Like, what if there is a movie about a shark that spits up so many people they have to open a beach?
I don't know. I'd like to see that.
I kind of want to, right?
Why does the shark keep spitting up live people? How do they all fit in there?
Exactly. It's a mystery.
There is a book about a guy who gets swallowed by a whale. And I'm not talking about the Bible. It's like some recent fiction
Pinocchio.
book. Maybe a novella where it is like a surfer or a rock climber, a spelunker, like some sort of like an extreme sportsman who does get swallowed by a whale. And it's like in real time. He's like, I think I have 90 minutes before I run out of oxygen. How do I get out of this whale? And they're turning that into a movie.
Well, let's see here. What's around me? Interesting. I feel like that almost fits in the category of like Life of Pi. It's like, okay, I'm trapped on a boat with a tiger. What do I do?
But not in it. But not in a tiger.
Right, yeah. Can I put a bed in this tiger? Apparently it can fit inside a horse, so that's fun.
Just the way like a magician pulls a bunch of scarves out of their mouth, a horse just vomits up an entire quilt.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You know the mob did it. You know that's the choreo.
Speaking of all these movies and such here, let's do a quick pop culture lightning round here. Some interesting things that I think happened over the past 2 weeks. First and foremost, Ralph Ineson has been cast as Galactus in the Fantastic Four movie. And John Malkovich has joined the cast as well. I don't know if we know his role yet,
No.
but
A mystery.
he's apparently in the cast.
I just saw Ralph Ineson in The First Omen. He's pretty good.
Okay. I know I've seen him in stuff because I recognized him when I saw his picture, but I didn't have a specific, oh, he's that guy in that one movie.
He's the dad in The Witch, but I don't know why you would have seen The Witch.
I haven't seen that one.
If you watch the little 10-minute new rock stars video on this news update, they do go through all of Ralph Ineson's filmography. They don't just list a thing you've seen him in. They go, it's weirdly in depth. I don't know if they were trying to hit a certain time mark with that video. I don't mind it. I just thought it was funny that for this actor they had to name 10 things. Maybe so you got the cue. You were assured.
Right.
Yes,
here, yeah.
You have seen this man.
He's
know
been
him.
in multiple movies. Calm down. So congratulations to all of them. I'm more and more excited for what the Fantastic Four might be.
I think we also have Paul Walter Hauser in the cast.
Oh, yes, you're right. Yeah.
Theorized to perhaps be, we don't know yet, but somebody threw out voice of the little robot.
I saw some, there's other people trying to be okay, well, who's going to be Mole Man?
I love the idea of a mole man.
Who's going to be Dr. Doom? I saw some stuff. Excuse me. Ooh. I saw some stuff about Giancarlo Esposito potentially joining the MCU, but I don't know how confirmed that has been, but he's definitely talking about it. I'm in some role.
He's in something.
But we don't know.
I want to say somebody. I don't believe that I came up with this on my own, so I must have heard somebody else mention it. Perhaps I'd like to see him as a Professor X. This is an actor who I think seems very warm as a person, but whenever I've seen a little clip of him, but is known for playing villains.
Real intense, yeah.
Yeah, and I like the idea of putting him as the stern but loving Professor X.
Yeah, so we can get Kitty Pryde doing her famous scene, Professor X is a jerk, from the comics there. So, but continuing on some Marvel news, apparently Bob Iger, I don't know if this was in an interview or some kind of investor's call.
Investor's call.
Okay. He mentioned scaling back the Marvel schedule so we would get a maximum of 3 Marvel movies per year and around 2 shows per year, which I think is fine. I don't think that is bad news at all. I don't think they need to oversaturate things. I think for a little bit there, they may have been overplaying their hands, especially if they also have Star Wars stuff, and they also have the new Doctor Who and all that stuff. I don't know, but this sounds like a sweet spot.
Yeah, I've heard only positive feedback from this. Those numbers sound correct.
Indeed. If you guys are fans of Shogun, apparently Hiroyuki Sanada has reportedly signed a deal for season 2 if it happens. It's a big if. It has not been confirmed yet for season 2, especially since the season 1 covered the entirety of that book.
Oh,
so there is no here's the next book. It's well, they did it. They did the story. But I know the creators have also been look, if we can find a story, if there is one, then sure, why not? We'll do a season 2 if they, if that works out, but nothing confirmed yet. Over on the Warner Brothers side of things, both Warner Brothers Pictures and New Line Cinema announced 2 new movies set in the Lord of the Rings universe, including The Hunt for Gollum. Gollum. Um, I don't know what to feel about this one. Melissa, do you have any kind of feelings for these for new Lord of the Rings movies?
I don't know much about this story yet. I'm not a social media person, and I haven't yet picked which one pop culture news site I will visit every day to make
Sure,
sure I
yeah.
get my news. I rely on a podcast that does a news roundup a week. And so if news breaks and we have to do this podcast between their two podcast episodes, I don't have any context. I will have context in like 2 days and I'll have more thoughts then. Um, I didn't have time to actually Google this for myself when I saw you had written it down on our news sheet. I'm curious who is hunting Gollum and when?
And
Presumably
why?
this is just before or perhaps during the events of the Fellowship of the Ring.
Mm.
Some orcs have got him. They get Shire. They get Baggins. The War for the Rohirrim, that animated movie, is that still on slate for December this year?
I don't know. I don't think I've heard any news about it recently, but also because I'm not the biggest Lord of the Rings fan, I don't really pay that much attention. Um, I just thought this
I
was interesting. That's like new movies.
Yeah, I'll give it a try. I really love those first three Lord of the Rings movies, and I like the Hobbits more than I think anyone else I've heard of. I just love that world. I love how it looks. I like to be in it. I like to see actors I like. I don't need much more than that. It's just sort of an aesthetic vacation for me.
Yeah.
I didn't finish that Rings of Power show, partially because there were like the episodes were very long and difficult to fit into my schedule. But again, I love the world building, the production design. They're so dreamy to look at. That alone gets me interested.
Okay. Cool. Cool. So this next one that I have on my list here is a little bit straight. You asked me about this before we started recording. I was like, I promise I have a reason for having this one on here. Apparently a fourth Riddick movie is about to go into production at the end of August. It's interesting because I think the first Riddick movie with Vin Diesel did okay, and then I think it was that second one, Pitch Black, that did pretty well. I think people really liked that one. I don't remember there being a third one, but I guess there was because they said this was the fourth one. But here's what I learned this week that I was just baffled by. Melissa, do you know Riddick's full name?
Riddick is a guy? I thought
is a
Riddick was
guy.
like a planet.
It's his last name.
Wow, I never thought to question exactly what Riddick was. I thought
It is.
I just presumed it was the name of this world.
It's Vin Diesel's character, Riddick.
Oh wow. Rod Riddick.
Honestly, pretty close. His full name is Richard B. Riddick. That's his full name. And that just kind of baffles me because obviously a nickname for Richard is Dick.
We've all heard this.
Dick be Riddick. His
Right,
dick
exactly.
be ridiculous. Was this the joke all along? And I just didn't know?
How would I know? This does not seem like a franchise that is full of dick jokes, especially
Right.
not baked within the identity of its title character.
Right, yeah.
Dick be Riddick.
I remember these being like very serious sci-fi action films. Right, yeah, not be like, hey, my name is Dick Be Ridiculous, or whatever, right? It's just like, no, that's not the kind of movie that this is. So I found that out this week, and I was just like, no way. I feel like this is fake, but apparently it's real.
Wow.
Who knows? We also got our first teaser for season 3 of The Bear, and all 10 episodes, I think, are streaming June 27th over on Hulu, which is pretty exciting. Batman the Caped Crusader, all 10 episodes premiere on August 1st over on Prime. This is the new Bruce Timm cartoon show that I think is also produced by Matt Reeves. He's somehow involved in that. It has Bruce Timm's classic style, but with the the 60s character designs from the comics in this. It's pretty interesting stuff. I'm excited for that one. And last but not least, apparently Disney and Max are teaming up for a streaming bundle happening later this summer. This summer, you'll get Disney Plus, Hulu, and Max all in one bundle if you so choose.
Should you choose to accept it?
Yeah, this is an interesting one for me. My parents have the Disney Plus, Hulu, ESPN Plus one, but I know I'm about to get kicked off of their Disney Plus since their password sharing stuff. They're about to start cracking down on that, and then I really have no interest in ESPN Plus, so this kind of interests me to have these three. So I'm not mad about that, but it is all just like, I feel like 10 years down the road, our internet service providers are just going to be like, and you pay us one fee and you get Disney Plus and Hulu and Max and Prime, and it's just like it's going to be cable once again. I don't know, but that's something.
Oh, it's intriguing. I like the idea that you could get that disparate combination. I do.
Yeah.
I don't know. I hope it's a good sign that two companies who are not otherwise attached will offer a bundle of their services because they know people want to use both. I don't know. I have the Disney Plus and Hulu. I have Hulu bundled with Spotify, weirdly enough. And I'm stuck on Hulu with ads because there's no way to get that bundle with ad-free Hulu. And I'm scared to break that bundle because I've been riding on that for like 10 plus years now.
Do you have YouTube Premium?
Yes.
Because doesn't that give you access to YouTube Music? You could potentially switch over to YouTube Music.
No, I can't. I cannot do that. The point of me I listen to podcasts most of the time. I really only listen to music like while I am working, while I am writing emails or something that is too involved for me to listen to a podcast. Where in that point, music is like a tool, sort of, to make my life easier, to help me work. And I cannot complicate my life by dropping Spotify and moving to another thing. That's going backwards for me. I can't. My brain cannot handle changing at this point.
Understandable. I'm actually going to add this one in here for our pop culture lightning round. If you are a video game fan, Summer Games Fest starts on June 7th, just under a month away. There's going to be all kinds of announcements and trailers and demos and stuff like that happening. So yeah, be on the lookout for that. Melissa, I know in the past we've done our like Magic 8-Ball stuff. We haven't talked about it till now, so we don't have anything set planned. But maybe next episode we could do a few predictions. We'll see if Ignacio can stop by, if that's still okay with you to grace us with your Magic 8-Ball skills.
I gotta start turning the tables and making you guess like really specific Oscar winners for like best sound design.
Sure. Yeah. So we'll see what happens with that, but some interesting video game stuff happening too. Well, I say we take a quick break for housekeeping.
Good time.
And then
I
when
say
we
so
come back,
also.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
I agree.
Thank you, Melissa, for backing me up.
I support this.
I know that I kind of move things along in the podcast a lot.
You're the
but
conductor.
Melissa, this is your podcast too. You could absolutely be like, you know what? Let's take a break now.
Now, I decree now.
Yeah, then I'd be like, okay, look at you, Melissa, taking control. Here we go. All right.
The wheel is in my hands. I'm the captain now.
Exactly. We'll be right back, but when we come back, we'll have our cinema corners, and I don't know if we're gonna get to this pepper grinder review thing that I have on our list. Don't worry about it if we don't get to it. I just thought it was funny. But yeah, we'll be right back to talk about some movies and stuff like that. So we'll be right back. Thank you so much for checking out this podcast. We hope you're enjoying it. If you didn't know, we make multiple different shows here at the Whatnauts, and a lot of hard work goes into making them, so we would love it if you check them all out. But none of this is possible without your support. Head over to patreon.com/thewhatnauts and you can get access to over 40 hours of exclusive content, including our Patreon first podcast, The Pilots Club, when you sign up at our $3 tier. Of course, there is a free version of the Pilots Club available, but episodes are exclusive to our Patreon for 2 years before they hit the free feeds. If you're interested in buying merch, we have shirts, hoodies, mugs, and more for sale over at thewhatnauts.com/store. Another great way to help us out is by subscribing and leaving a nice rating and review on your podcasting app of choice. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel for video versions of the show, trailer reactions, and live streams. And lastly, you can always find out more information about the shows we make on our website, thewhatnauts.com. All right, we are back once again. A big shout out to all of our Patreon supporters. Thank you so much. It means a ton. Over on the Pilots Club this month, we got to talk about Pan Am, a show that I believe was, so I found it on AMC Plus. Melissa, I think you found it on Tubi or something like that. But a show about the stewardesses on Pan Am airplanes. I was about to say the shenanigans they get into, but that's not a great description of it.
By shenanigans, I think you mean affairs and international espionage.
Right. Yes, exactly. Yeah, so that was an interesting and a fun one for us to talk about. And then over on the free version of the Pilots Club, we got to talk about Yasuke. We talked about, I got to talk about is also a weird thing to say.
Yasuke allowed us to speak of him.
Yeah, indeed. So go check that one out as well. Right here on the Captain's Log, last episode, I went on some adventures, including going to a restaurant where a little robot delivers your food, and it was fun. It was wholesome. And then also in that same episode, Melissa, haunted by product placement, the Aura digital frame. So yeah, talking about all sorts of podcast stuff that we've been through, some stories of our lives, stuff like that. Over on the review show, Planet of the Apes. We did the Planet of the Apes trilogy, the recent ones, Rise of the Planet of the Apes, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and War for the Planet of the Apes, all in preparation for the brand new Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which is out right now. You guys can go see that in theaters. And both Melissa and I went to go see that over the weekend, so we'll be talking about that in just a sec. But yeah, that is what we did over on the review show. We had a blast talking about those movies. I think neither of us had seen them, so it was brand new for us to check those out. So good stuff with all of that. But that's it. That's the housekeeping for right now. So, Cinema Corner, let's jump right into Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Melissa.
Yeah.
What did you think of Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes?
There were a lot of surprises in this movie. Truly beautiful moments, truly shocking moments. I had a great time.
Absolutely. I thought this was a fantastic movie. I really enjoyed it. Um, would highly recommend it. Even if you have
Mm.
not seen the other
Yeah.
trilogy, this is a great jumping on point for people new to the franchise. They do the thing like the start of the film, they have some text to like catch you up on what happened, and then it's only like the first 2 minutes of the movie kind of has to do with the old stuff, but it is just kind of tying up not loose ends, but just being like, and that was that. And now moving on to this new story. It's a brand new story arc, new characters, all of that stuff. So yeah, it's a great jumping on point. But if you've also seen the other trilogy, a great continuation
Yeah.
of all of this. I like that they did like a many generations later time jump instead of like it's now been 100 years later. It is in this like gray area
I
of like
I
I
think
don't know
I heard
exactly how
somewhere
long it's been.
it was the new Rockstars breakdown said it was 300 years. Maybe that
Interesting.
was specified to the press, but yeah, the subtitle in the movie just says many generations. Enough that all of California is covered over with plants and any buildings are just a skeleton.
Yeah, and there's some like boats that you see later on, and they're all rusted over and stuff like that. So, yeah, I had a blast with this. The theater we were in was maybe one of the worst movie going crowds I've ever been in.
Huh.
Just an absolute terrible time. Multiple people on their phones, and on their phones through a majority of the film. And not like trying to hide it, needs to answer a text real fast. Just like phone up, scrolling Facebook, full brightness. And here's the thing: if someone is doing that, I don't mind speaking up to be like, "Hey, put your phone away." But from where I was sitting, they were far enough away that it'd be kind of weird for me to yell at that. Like they were far enough away that I couldn't really be the one to say something. But it was still so distracting. It was multiple people, and it was
What
just
time was the
ridiculous.
showing?
I mean, it was Friday at 7 p.m. So it was like prime
Okay.
time for everyone to go see it. And then Go
You
ahead.
know that I go to a lot of like Saturday matinees, maybe like a Sunday afternoon. I never see people on their phones in those time slots. I only see people on their phones at night screenings.
Yeah. I don't understand. If you buy a ticket to go see this movie, go watch the movie. If you want to be on Facebook, don't show up. I don't understand it.
I saw somebody pull out their phone halfway through Wonka. And I'm like, if you're not on board with Wonka, you would have known that already. Why
Sure,
start
yeah.
now? Either this shouldn't happen at all, or it should happen 100% of the time. The fact that you're beginning now confuses me.
Yeah, and then after, like, immediately once the credits popped up, there had to have been at least 10 other people that immediately just pick up their phones, turn the flashlights on, and just start, like, waving it around in people's faces and stuff like that. They were obviously like, I think I dropped my keys or stuff like that, but they had, like, no regard for shining it in other people's faces. Just like 10 other people. It was ridiculous. It was just like, how? Like, at least thank you for waiting till the end of the movie. But you know I'm still here, right? Don't shine that in my face. I'm like, God, stop. Ugh. So.
I follow box office week to week. When I look at Box Office Mojo, the visual layout confuses me, but I let a lot of podcasts tell me what's up week to week.
Sure.
And from my perspective, just by I have been lucky enough, like I said, to be in screenings where it's off-peak times, If you're going to the movies,
Yeah.
it's because you really want to go to the movies. You didn't just wind up there at the
Yeah.
end of the day. But like, I know you said like if you're going to be on your phone the whole time, don't go. But also, if these people aren't showing up, then what does the box office look like? Like ideally, you go to the movie and you're quiet and you pay attention to the movie. But if the two options are rowdy screening or empty screening, I'm like, I don't know. Maybe the rowdy screening's better for the industry as a whole if everybody's on their phone, but
It
they
gets
paid
them
the money
money.
to be there. Yes.
I understand that, but like, I mean, and I've even had situations where I'm in a movie theater, I'm watching, I get a phone call. Of course, I don't answer it, right? I just let it vibrate or whatever, and then they call back immediately, right? And so like at that point I'm like, okay, like I feel like something's up, so I at least have to like look and check to see like do I need to stand up and leave so that I can call someone? Do I like it's just a courtesy thing, right? Like
Yes.
it is so distracting to just see what pictures you're liking on Instagram. Like it's now taking me away from watching all of this, and it'd be one thing if they were hiding it, if they had their brightness all the way down to try and be as courteous as possible, right? No, it was just like up so everyone could see full on brightness. Like, yeah, I was just like, this was ridiculous. Dick be ridiculous. I just
Did you go see The Fall Guy?
I have not. No.
I saw it twice at two different theater chains and in front of both screenings. So it must be something attached to the film itself and not like an AMC exclusive. There's a video from Ryan Gosling and David Leitch just saying, hey, thank you for coming out and supporting this movie. And they mentioned something like, you know, we hope you have a great time with this movie. If you really have to text and it's an emergency, you know, like be real quiet and like keep the screen down and hide it in your jacket. Like they kind of say it jokingly, but that's the first acknowledgement I've seen of if you have to, here's how you can do it as subtly as possible. Right.
Yeah.
Like I've never seen anything besides like abstinence only phone discussion at movies where it's like, leave it alone, never touch it, don't look at it. And I did appreciate them saying, if you need to, please do this.
Yeah. Like there are certainly emergency situations.
Yeah.
But it was just scrolling Facebook.
Right.
It's like,
I
that's not
don't
an
know how to
emergency.
stop that.
Yeah.
You know, I've never tried to stop anybody because I feel like then I'm just creating further distraction instead of removing distraction.
I mean, I had to yell at someone in the IMAX screening of Mission Impossible because he answered a phone call on speaker in the middle of the. It's like, what are you doing? Put your phone away. Turns out that person works at my partner's job and she sees him all the time.
Oh my God.
That I yelled at him. Yeah.
Oh.
But yeah, I mean, to get back to Planet of the Apes, regardless of the situation,
Yes.
really,
Very
really,
good.
Really enjoyed it. Yeah, I thought it was fantastic. I think one of my critiques of the original trilogy was that it was hard for me to distinguish the personalities of some of the apes. They had some, like, certain ones had scars or certain paint on them. They called them by different names, but nothing like what truly was Rocket's personality. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I think this one, because they do a lot more, they do a much better job with facial capture in this. The apes are talking much more fluently in this one. And I think because of that, getting to hear them talk and hearing them have a voice also helps to distinguish them from all the other apes. And so I really liked that it felt like all of them have different personalities and it's not just some random ape, but this time he has red paint on his face, right? Yeah,
This
so
movie,
I really liked that.
we, in our review show discussion of the first three, we had certain questions, or we had things we wanted to be highlighted, to be looked at in more depth. And this movie gave me that. I was really pleasantly surprised. It
Yeah.
felt like they were aware of how this next movie needed to step certain things up. And now that humans are pretty much gone and we're spending so much more time with the apes, what we need to learn about their emerging society.
Yeah. Um, do you kind of have a real quick like spoiler section, just for a couple
Okay.
minutes here? So if you were gonna talk about something more
Yes.
specifically, cool. I'll put the like YouTube chapter marks, the podcast
Okay.
chapter
Thank
marks. So
you.
if you were gonna skip it, all of that info will be in the description and stuff like that. But spoilers, I'll do our little spoiler thing. Spoilers are starting now. There you go.
I do want to say, I knew William H. Macy was in this movie. And I thought, if anyone's got a face to be mocapped into being an animated chimp, it's William H. Macy. So I was shocked when human man William H. Macy walks out and starts talking.
Yeah. Yeah, man, the facial capture that they did in this was incredible. Yeah, it is strange to because I'm not super familiar with some of the other actors that were captured for this one, but I think they all did a phenomenal job.
Well, the Proximus Caesar, the sort of villain of this movie, that's Kimi from Lost.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, like I was just blown away. Like each one feels like they stepped it up in some way
Yes.
of their animation, their lighting, their motion capture, their facial capture. Incredible stuff. The spoiler thing I want to talk about is the like ending of this movie. So we have a human character who at first they believe can't speak, but then we learn, oh no, they can speak, which kind of answers the question that was lingering from the second movie of the first trilogy of like, there were people that were immune, if you remember, and they just kind of dropped that. So it feels like humanity has kind of started over and started small. They're starting to grow back or what have you. Or there are the like wild humans that are the more like cavemen like ones out there, which you could obviously tell a complete difference in. Like, no, she's wearing a tank top and cargo pants. These ones are in loincloths.
Right. I'm like, this woman is wearing a bra.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And so you learn she can speak, and her mission is to recover this hard drive that I guess will help them power a satellite network, like a communications network. Essentially, they're just trying to get a stronger walkie-talkie. And so she is referring to this thing as a book of sorts that will cure the humans and will allow them to speak again, which also plays on your expectations of this like virus that caused them to lose their speech and stuff like that. Do you think these movies are going to go to space? I don't know. Because I know they really only talk to someone in Indiana. Is like,
yes.
So it's like, I'm here in Indiana. Where are you guys? But with these giant satellites that they now have on line, like that obviously is a thing of like, okay, now we're getting some like space technology back in the mix. But also there's this like telescope that the apes go to. I guess it's in California somewhere. I don't know.
It's
where
probably
exactly.
Griffith Observatory.
Yeah. We don't get to see what they're looking at, but they are looking into space and have this sense of awe and wonder that something else is out there. Maybe they saw something specific, but we're not shown what that is. Do you feel like, because like the older Planet of the Apes movies do have a small attachment to space. Like, that's how the first movie starts. These astronauts crash land on a planet, and they think it's some like crazy ape planet, but no, it's Earth.
I don't know if the Earth that we see in this movie has the infrastructure and resources to go up into space. Like, if humans are living under sequestered little bunkers, I'm not sure if there's
Right.
like, where are you hiding a rocket? And if the world's overgrown with plants, how is like the launching pad intact? How could you like clean that off in order to use it? I think it's maybe more likely, instead of someone from Earth going to space, someone who was up in space coming back down to Earth.
That's what I was
which
just
I know
about
is
to point to.
the original.
Is something that also happened in the first movie of the original trilogy. There was a, like, in the background, you saw like news clippings or newspaper articles about the first manned mission to Mars. And then, like, it's supposed to be just in like an Easter egg back to the original movies, but they also never mentioned that again. So yeah, I'm wondering if there is supposed to be some like long-formed manned mission to another planet or a space station that was sustainable or something. And as the virus was initially spreading, they kind of let them know, like, hey, don't come back. Like, stuff is going real bad here. You might get sick. You might die. See what you can do up there to save humanity or something. And now that they can potentially get this satellite network back up,
telling this poor group of astronauts, don't just find a way for yourselves to survive out in space without coming back down to Earth, but any supplies, but save humanity. Please, like, dozen astronauts, please save all of us.
Look, it is absolutely ridiculous what I'm saying. I actually don't think that they're going to space. I feel like these movies will be better served in a much more grounded capacity. But it was just an interesting thing that they like went to this telescope multiple times, and they look inside and they're like, whoa.
Yeah.
And then they never show us what it is they're looking at. It is just this, like, but they didn't show it.
I did like
what
that.
What did they look at, right? Yeah.
I know. You can
space?
learn so much just from looking at their faces. And I like that even before the human character is speaking, our primary ape, Noah, knows, like, even without speaking with her, I can see how her face looked. That I know. That I can read. I'm also not sure of what is possible for somebody to see when they look through a telescope. You know, like, I don't know.
Since this lens was all dirty and
right, and it's not being like run through any computer and refined and enhanced. Like, I don't know what options are on the board for what could be seen in there.
Exactly. So who knows? But yeah, I enjoyed it. I think that's all the spoiler stuff that I have to say. It was good.
Yeah, very good. Real brutal deaths in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
I was very surprised. Like, when the girl just chokes out William H. Macy. Let's bookend this discussion with William H. Macy.
Sure.
That was intense.
Yeah. And the apes are just like kind of shocked of just like,
right.
Humans
like,
can do this kind of violence too. Huh. Wow.
And like, none of these deaths are graphic. It's not a bloody movie. I'm like, this is probably still a movie you could take,
it's not gory.
Right, you'd probably still take like a 10-year-old to this and be fine. But I'm like, I did
see some kids in the audience.
Yeah, and I think it's a fine movie to take a kid to. Enough of it is like fun, family action adventure, and it's more thematically very
intense.
heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I appreciate the audacity of this.
Indeed. Looking forward to more films in this universe. I think some of the people creating it said, hey, if it were allowed to, we have 9 films in total planned out. Not 9
Go for it.
more of them, but like 9 total. We already did the first 3. Here's number 4. So
I'm on board.
yeah,
I'll see them.
So Okay. That's our spoiler section right there. Melissa, you went to go see Challengers and The Fall Guys. Uh,
Yes. One guy,
I
fall
yeah,
singular.
the
One
the
guy.
Fall Guy. How were these ones?
Fall Guy's a lot of fun. I can tell it really knows its stuff, and it is a loving portrait of stunt performers.
Cool.
It's great to see just for that. It's like a fun, silly romp. The performances are charming. There's lots
Yeah.
of neat little in jokes in there.
I'll be honest, was not interested based on the
Mm.
premise. But then, yeah, as I kind of realized, oh no, they're doing this kind of as a push to get stunt performers in Oscar. It's meant to be like, let's have some wild, ridiculous stunts and just
Yeah.
put them on screen, as well as the reviews coming out of it of like, oh, it's not just like a typical standard action film. It might be, but it's a really good one of that, and you'll have a great time. That has made me a little bit more interested.
Yeah, I went to see it, and then I planned to go out and like do something with a coworker, and she wanted to go bowling. I'm like, one of the new movie theaters in our area actually has a couple like decent bowling lanes, not just
Cool.
like little dinky ones. Like, we could go bowling there. And then she's like, actually, I like the idea of going to a movie. I'm like, well, then you'd like this. I'll see
Cool.
it again. Box office
Double
can use the
whammy.
dollars.
Yeah.
Right. And like, that's not something I do often. So if I was entertained seeing it for the second time in a
Cool.
week, you'll be entertained enough seeing it once.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
You also mentioned previously you were on the fence about Challengers.
Yeah.
This is a wet and wild film. You should see
So
this
I've
in a
heard.
theater. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I've heard. I've not heard any spoilers. And again, this is one like on the premise alone. I don't know if I'm really into it. It sounds like it'll be intense, and that's cool, but I don't know. And then I just keep hearing the ending is wild. Like, oh my god, go see it just for the ending. So I'm
Yeah,
like, I don't know, maybe I'm missing out. I don't know.
I think you are. The movie's got a lot of stylistic panache.
Cool.
It's a great micro movie, and that you're really just spending your time with these three main performers, this main love triangle. It gets a lot out of them. The movie moves around in time a lot. So you see them when they're younger, you see them, across like 15 years of their life. It tracks these people back and forth and their evolving dynamics and careers. It's got this pounding soundtrack from Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross that is unlike any. It's unique, and how it is used is unique, in that they will play it very loud over dialogue scenes, and this is on purpose. It's like the specific words don't really matter. You need to get the energy of the scene,
The
and we're going to amp up
emotion,
the energy by
yeah.
playing the score really loud. For the score alone, get to this in a theater.
I have heard the music was really good too. So interesting. Yeah, I might go see that this next week here before it leaves theaters. I think it's been doing well enough that it might stick around for a little bit. But
I hope so.
yeah,
It is a summer movie.
cool.
It is a hot and sweaty one.
And then you have Casino.
Yeah, at my
is
local
this?
Alamo Draft Casino. It's about a casino. It's a Scorsese movie from 1995. It's
Okay, I was
think
gonna say
based
I haven't
on-
seen trailers for this one. I don't know what this is. Scorsese has a new film, and I missed it. What's happening?
when did he have time after making his previous 3.5-hour film just last fall?
Yeah.
No, it's from 1995. It's his follow-up to Goodfellas, and I think it was adapted from another true crime book by the author who wrote the story Goodfellas is based on. So they feel very similar. They feel like two sides of the same coin, that both thematically and stylistically. It's a lot of fun. Cool. It is a drama, but it has some surprisingly funny moments sprinkled throughout it. like my favorite part is Robert De Niro runs the titular casino, and he is talking with Kevin Pollak, who's like some politician patsy, where like they are doing shady business and Kevin Pollak is in on it, but he looks so squeaky clean that they make him like the head of the Nevada Gaming Commission or whatever it is. They're like, this guy, he's our clean front facing person while we do all this shady business in the back.
Mm-hmm.
And the two of them are having a meeting at like some little restaurant in the casino. And they're both sitting down with like a coffee and a blueberry muffin. And Robert De Niro gets so mad that Kevin Pollak's muffin is stuffed with blueberries and it says none. He like lifts the top off of the muffin and it's like just bad. It's like just cake fluff. There's nothing in it.
Oh man.
So he goes back into the kitchen and like just faces the chef and is like, every muffin must have the same amount of blueberries.
Great.
I love that.
He's not wrong, right? Like, I would also be very disappointed if I was like, yeah, blueberry muffin, and there's just none in there.
It's one time in college, I went to the food services and I got a granola bar with my little lunch sack that was labeled as chocolate chip. A single chocolate chip.
That
God,
sucks.
I've never been more how do you end up with only one? How only one? I'd expect like three.
That's how you get me to eat granola. I had one before the podcast. I had a chocolate chip granola bar. And if it was just regular granola, wouldn't touch it. But if it has chocolate chips,
we love chocolate chips.
Yeah.
You can put chocolate chips on anything. I love that in this 3-hour sprawling crime epic, it has room for silly little stuff like this.
That's good. It's fun. Good indeed. Well, also over on my cinema corner, I got to watch the first 2 seasons of Reacher.
This is with that big guy?
Yeah, the big guy that you saw in the Ungentlemanly Warfare movie.
Right.
Alan Richson, I believe is how you say his name. Yeah, and I mentioned this last time too, but we saw him in Titans. He played
You
Dove,
did mention that. I didn't remember.
Hawk. Yeah.
I remember there was a big guy, and now my brain can connect. They were both the same big guy.
Yeah. So, yeah, and even the marketing for Reacher Season 2 was all about just how big this guy is. It was like, Reacher Season 2, and then it's a big poster of him facing away from you, and it just says, Reacher's back. Because it's his back, and you can...
Look at it. Look at all its muscles.
Yeah. Season 2,
shirt off or
Reacher's back.
Shirt off or shirt on? Oh, what kind of shirt?
Just a real tight-fitting t-shirt.
Well, all of them are when you're that big.
Right, yeah.
I can't wait to see a buff guy in a big shirt and ask where the big shirt came from. Who?
Big and tall, extra tall section. So this is available on Amazon Prime. People seem to like this show quite a bit. I checked it out, and it's okay. I don't mind it. I would potentially watch a 3rd season. I don't think it's really all that spectacular, but it is not bad either. It's so weird to describe. So as a show itself, I feel like it is not much different from like a single episode or like 2-part episode of like a CSI or a Law and Order where there is some mystery, some crime that they're trying to solve, but they have kind of heightened it with some more interesting characters, some more like in-depth investigation, as well as a bunch of action scenes, because that's what this is. He's supposed to be like, he's big and he can shoot and punch things, and he's a Reacher, and that's how he solves the case. He punches things.
Okay. So is this more... What exactly is Reacher? Is he a soldier? Is he a secret agent?
Ex-military, but currently kind of this wandering hobo that just goes from town to town solving mystery. Like he busts up a counterfeiting ring. He busts up a
Okay.
drug ring, stuff like that. Like the first season starts with a couple of murders happening, and him being arrested on suspicion of those murders, but it was not him. And that leads into a whole bunch of investigating him, fighting a bunch of people, him shooting at a bunch of things, exploding, and it just in the way that CSI or Law and Order or those types of shows are just kind of easy watching, right? That's what I feel Reacher is, but maybe a more
Good.
prestige version of that. Like, I don't really have to think too hard about the case or about the investigation or about who the characters are. It's just kind of easy. So in that sense, I wasn't super impressed. I think what's wild and is kind of fascinating to see, Reacher as a character is just a machine. He is such a mechanical person in the fact that whenever he speaks at the same pace, the same level, with such confidence. There's no filler words. He's never mumbling. He's never like, well, I think that, well, actually, I think that, well, no, let's do this. Because it's always straight away. He has the most confident answer. And it's just like with him, like big, broad shouldered and chested. And he always says the right, it just feels like he feels stiff and mechanical in a way that is just kind of weird. And that's not necessarily saying like, oh, Alan Ritchson's not a great actor. That's not what I'm trying to say. It could be off-putting to some. I can see how that would be the thing. But he's just kind of this driving, unstoppable force, right? So yeah, I had heard someone describe this show on a podcast as your dad's new favorite show. And I think that tracks. It is absolutely a dad type of show.
My parents will watch sometimes the most anonymous crime procedurals. Like, I've never heard of this thing. I've never seen it. It isn't new. I can tell this is something that aired like 3 seasons very quietly on CBS in like 2010.
Right, yeah.
And now it's being reran on like, what are those sub-cable networks? A Me TV. A Pop TV, one of those. And my parents have this big high-def TV, but not every... They have this massive satellite cable package, and not every channel in that package is as high-def. So, and they're old. Their eyes aren't the best. And my dad sits in this big recliner at the opposite end of the room from the TV. And I sit, like, my designated spot in our living room is closer to the TV. And I'm like, this is so blocky. This is like 480p. How are you watching this? Especially on the technology you have now. Like, you could find this streaming somewhere in so much higher quality. And he's like, I don't know. This looks fine to me. And it's just like the blandest crime procedural that like time has not remembered. But my parents will like set their DVR to record all of it.
Yeah. Like, that's like what the actual plot is that's happening in Reacher. That it just kind of feels bland, like your run-of-the-mill like crime procedural. But the twist is that there's this big hulking figure that can just punch and shoot things till he gets what he wants.
It's like the television equivalent of like a just reliable bowl of cream of wheat with raisins in it. But then they also added a big scoop of protein powder, and that's what Reacher is.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, it's if that sounds good to you, I think it is a good example of one of those things. Go check it out.
And we do need those. I can't only watch The Sympathizer. You know, you also need the stuff that's like, it's that character, and I know exactly what thing they're going to get up to this week, and the episodes are kind of interchangeable.
Yeah. So yeah, I heard recently that he is also interested in playing Batman in the new DC continuity, and I think potentially Reacher would be a good example to look towards, to see him in, like, if you were to see Batman at a crime scene investigating, I feel like he too would also be so quick and confident of, like, well, because of the angle that he shot here, it means this, but because it was at this, he means he's left-handed, and that, like, it's just like, how are you so confident in knowing these things? Like, what is going on? So that might be a good example for him to be like, I guess he could be Batman. Sure.
Would he dye his hair, or would we have a blonde Batman?
Ooh, I mean, it's kind of a dirty blonde, like a darker blonde. I could see him dyeing his hair, but I don't know if they need to.
The world was shocked when Daniel Craig was cast as the first ever blonde Bond. People didn't accept. It's a hard road back in like 2004, 2005 when he was announced. But I think he's paved the way for us to have blonde versions of other heroes who are not typically blonde.
Right, yeah. Who knows? So that's what I've been up to. That's what I've been watching. All that good stuff. I think that's kind of, I'm going to skip this dumb post that I found. I found a stupid review of a pepper grinder. Melissa, I don't know if you're able to see it or not. I found it on Threads. Okay.
I can.
Maybe I'll put the link to this in the show notes or whatever. Entertaining reading. Just go read that. It's fun.
I started reading it. It is fun. Too many GIFs. I can't. My Microsoft Teams chat at work is filled with GIFs, but I can hit a pause button and they turn into still images. I can't do this here. I don't want to look at this many GIFs. I burned myself out on GIFs. They were so hot when they first hit the scene, and everybody was GIF crazy, and I had my folder of all my favorites and all my reaction posts. I think I did too much, and now I'm like, that's too many. I don't want to look at them. I want my screen to be still, thank you.
There's only like 3 of them.
There's so many. There's
you might be seeing
4,
the
5, 6,
comments.
7.
You might be seeing comments from other people. Because on the actual thread, there's only like 3.
I don't like when a screen moves at me when I didn't tell it to move.
Anyways, yeah, so that's that. Cool. Well, that, I think, is episode 272 of the Whatnauts Captain's Log. So I say we wrap things up right there. So yeah, thank you guys for joining us. It means a ton. If you guys want to stay up to date with all of the stuff that we do here at the Whatnauts, we are at the Whatnauts Official on Threads. So please go like, share, and subscribe. That would help us out a ton. If you are watching this on YouTube, yes, Melissa.
I did start an email. If you want to talk to Melissa, who's not on social media, you can email me at yourhostmelissa@gmail.com.
Perfect. And with that, we will see you all next time. Bye.